With a video like this, I already know that literally everyone watching it is gonna be pissed off to some degree. Uh, because I kind of have a huge problem with both sides of this kind of issue. But considering that there's really only one thing I can do, which is say exactly what I think, like unapologetically, regardless of what I expect the audience to maybe think. Because if everyone's getting pissed off about it anyway, I might as well. So there's this standard male narrative when it comes to women's rights, which is something along the lines of things in the past were very nice, the 1700s, 1800s, early 1900s. And then because for no reason whatsoever we were just a bunch of silly billies and we gave women rights and then everything went to shit afterwards, more or less. So I'm going to talk about why this is a little bit of a silly narrative. But I want to address one thing first, which is there's this huge misconception among, let's say, the female side of this, the male versus female narrative. There's this very common assumption that the hatred of men towards women comes primarily from them not being able to, like, get girls, not being able to have sex with anyone. Because a lot of guys I know have no problem getting girls. The real cause for the hatred towards women is essentially the same that it's always been if you look at any period of history, right? The hysterical behavior, the constant anxiety, the constant, it introduces a level of chaos into your life, right? So when you're in a situation as a man where, let's say you're in kindergarten and your kindergarten teacher is a woman, and you see how she is enforcing rules very, very unfairly, and she's sometimes just being moody and handing out punishments for incredibly minor reasons, and then on other days it's the exact opposite, right? You look at that and you see how you're forced to acknowledge her as your social superior, and it does a certain thing to your mind, right? It tells you A, that women are very untrustworthy with power, and B, that the whole structure of authority is untrustworthy, right? So that's where it really comes from. So let me get back to the original question, which is why did women's rights start being a thing to begin with? And the answer to that is it's kind of simple. What causes anyone to be dissatisfied with the existing authority structure? Why is it that women in, let's say, the 15th century, the 5th century, even earlier than that, or if you go to, pre-civilizational tribal societies, right? What is it that causes these women to be okay with very openly being called inferior and very openly having far less autonomy than a man, while a modern woman would find such a thing incredibly disgusting, right? The very simple answer is pain, stress, and a lack of admiration, a lack of seeing something in the men that they don't see in themselves, right? Because in the end, the reason you trust an authority figure is because you assume that they can make something positive happen, that you don't need to worry about whatever it is that they're in charge of. They can make good things happen and your life will be good, right? And this has nothing to do with economics or fucking how much money you have. It's just an emotional thing, right? Do you feel satisfied with your life or not? So once you become emotionally dissatisfied, obviously you start wanting to take care of things yourself, decide things yourself, because the people making decisions for you clearly aren't trustworthy, right? Like, does that remind you of anything? Because men right now are going through the exact same thing, except it's not a gender relations thing, it's more of a, what kind of people reach positions of power under the status quo, right? But it's the same exact psychological dynamic. So literally the simplest explanation is that the general level of stress went up and the men that were in charge didn't really have a vision for how to fix it in any way, right? That's basically the story of the 1800s and the 1900s and even today, right? It's been very gradually progressing towards the level of insanity that we have today. And I've had this exact same experience over and over and over again where constantly throughout my life I would meet guys, my age, where I look at the way their life is going and I think, oh yeah, these guys, they should be like me. Like, they've been wronged many, many times. They have no real prospects for what they want to do with their lives. And they should be just as idealistic as me. They should have that, that inner fire, that extreme desire to create something that's better and to crush the status quo with something superior, right? But I've almost never actually seen that. Only one friend of mine is kind of like that. With almost everyone else, they've just resigned themselves to the dating apps, video games, relying on their parents for money. And even though this is like a very stressful life, there's no like desire to change it. And 99 times out of 100, or at least 9 times out of 10, that's what I see. So, yeah, there's reasons to blame women, there's reasons to blame men. At the end of the day, it's completely irrelevant because the solution is the same either way.